Amora stepped off the dusty road, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the vibrant colors and bustling activity of Okoma village. The air was thick with the scent of spices and the sound of laughter filled her ears. It had been years since she had left her homeland of Nigeria to pursue her education in the United States, but now she was back, eager to reconnect with her roots. As she made her way through the winding streets, she couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia wash over her. Memories of childhood adventures and family gatherings flooded her mind, and she couldn't wait to see her parents again. She had missed them more than words could express. Finally, she arrived at her family's compound, a modest but welcoming structure nestled among the trees. The sight of it filled her with warmth, and she quickened her pace, eager to embrace her loved ones. As she entered the compound, she was greeted with hugs and smiles from her parents, who had been eagerly awaiting her return. "Welcome home, Amora," her mother said, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. "We've missed you so much." Amora returned her mother's embrace, feeling a surge of love and gratitude wash over her. Despite the distance that had separated them, her bond with her family remained as strong as ever. Over the coming days, Amora settled into life in Okoma village, reconnecting with old friends and soaking in the rich culture of her homeland. She reveled in the simple pleasures of village life, from the vibrant marketplaces to the lively gatherings under the moonlit sky. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the village, Amora encountered a young girl named Ada. With her bright eyes and infectious smile, Ada welcomed Amora with open arms, eager to show her around the village. The two quickly became inseparable, sharing stories and laughter as they explored every corner of Okoma village. Amora was struck by Ada's kindness and generosity, and she felt grateful to have found such a loyal friend so quickly. As the days turned into weeks, Amora and Ada grew closer, their friendship blossoming like the flowers that dotted the countryside. They spent their days together, roaming the hillsides and swimming in the crystal-clear waters of nearby streams. But amidst the laughter and camaraderie, there was a shadow lurking in the depths of Okoma village. A dark secret that had been whispered about for generations, passed down from one generation to the next. It was the legend of River Akamilli, a forbidden place shrouded in mystery and fear. According to the tales, the river was cursed, its waters tainted by the spirits of the dead. Only widows dared to go near it, fetching water for their families under the cover of darkness. Amora had heard the stories as a child, but she had never paid them much heed. After all, she had been raised in America, far removed from the superstitions of her homeland. But as she spent more time in Okoma village, she began to sense the unease that surrounded the river, the way people would whisper and cast wary glances in its direction. One day, as she and Ada were wandering through the village, they passed by the edge of River Akamilli. Amora paused, her curiosity piqued by the sight of the murky waters below. "What's wrong, Amora?" Ada asked, noticing her friend's hesitation. "It's nothing," Amora replied, shaking her head. I was just thinking about what lies beyond the river. Ada shrugged, seemingly unfazed by the ominous presence of River Akamilli. It's just a river, Amora, she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. There's nothing to be afraid of. But despite Ada's assurances, a nagging feeling lingered in the back of Amora's mind. She couldn't shake the sense of foreboding that washed over her whenever she gazed upon the forbidden waters of River Akamilli. Days turned into weeks, and as Amora's time in Okoma village drew to a close, she found herself torn between the comfort of her newfound friendship with Ada and the lingering fear of the unknown. Then, one fateful afternoon, everything changed. Amora and Ada were out exploring the outskirts of the village, their laughter echoing through the hills as they skipped along the winding paths. As they neared the edge of River Akamilli, Ada stopped in her tracks, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "Hey, Amora, I have an idea," she said, her voice filled with excitement. Amora frowned, sensing that Ada's idea might not be the wisest course of action. "What is it?" she asked warily. Ada grinned, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Let's go for a swim in River Akamilli," she said. Amora's heart skipped a beat at the suggestion, her mind racing with 1,000 warnings and admonitions. But before she could protest, Ada was already stripping off her clothes and wading into the water. "Come on, Amora, don't be such a chicken," Ada called over her shoulder, her voice muffled by the sound of rushing water. Amora hesitated for a moment, torn between her loyalty to Ada and her instinctual fear of the forbidden river. But in the end, her desire to please her friend won out, and she reluctantly followed Ada into the murky depths of River Akamilli. As they splashed and played in the cool waters, Amora couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at her insides. She couldn't understand why Ada was so eager to defy the warnings of their elders, to risk angering the spirits that dwelled within the river. But before she could voice her concerns, tragedy struck. With a sudden roar, the waters of River Akamilli began to churn and boil, sending waves crashing over Amora and Ada with a force that knocked them off their feet. Panicked screams filled the air as they struggled to stay afloat, their bodies thrashing against the relentless current. In the chaos that ensued, Amora felt herself being dragged under by the powerful undertow, her lungs burning for air as darkness closed in around her. Desperate and afraid, she reached out for Ada, but her friend was nowhere to be found. Just as she felt herself slipping away, a pair of strong arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her up to the surface with a strength born of desperation. Gasping for breath, Amora clung to her rescuer, her heart pounding in her chest as she fought to stay conscious. As they emerged from the water, Amora blinked away the tears that blurred her vision, her eyes widening in shock as she saw who had saved her. It was Namdi, a young man from the village who had always kept to himself, his face etched with concern as he cradled Amora in his arms. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice soft and soothing against her ear. Amora nodded weakly, her body trembling with a mixture of fear and relief. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely above a hoarse whisper. Namdi gave her a reassuring smile, his eyes filled with a warmth that melted away the chill of the river. "You're safe now," he said.